My name is Donall Dempsey, and I'm tied forever to one place. Albert Camus said, "We all carry within us places of exile. Our task is to transform them in ourselves and others." And I, of course, do the words and transform them, and you transform them by your listening. A Turkish friend of mine once told me, I'm very deficient in Turkish, so I'll have to give it to you in English. Man belongs to a place where he wants to stop time. And my uncle Michael told me once, to a 9-year-old boy, he said, stories are like nailing the wind down. And he was a great nailer down of the wind. So I'm trying to follow in his footsteps. But before we do that, he was the treasure trove of my childhood, and I'd follow him around like a newly hatched duckling around the farm, talking to him talking to me all the time, non-stop, and telling me stories. And my Auntie Nellie would give out to him and say, "Michael, for God's sake, will you stop filling the child's head with nonsense? Can't you see that he believes every word you said?" And indeed I did. But so he told me this word one time, and I don't remember him speaking any other Irish to me, and the word is Ullastraw. Does anybody know what Ullastraw means? Well, it means the day before yesterday. And when I'd ask him, "When was that, Michael?" and he'd say, "Oh, that was a granny ago, or a grandfather ago," and I used to love him using people as timepieces. And when he got fed up with me, I guess he'd say, "Well, when was that, Michael?" and I'd say, "Oh, Ullastraw, by Ullastraw, the day before yesterday." So when I met my wife, although I'm not an Irish speaker, she drew out the Irish in me. And I wrote her this little poem called Gran Macree, Love of My Life. Ullastraw, the gra gan istam, Akanish, the gra gachin rud, gachin ot. My heart's love, the day before yesterday, your love unknown to me, but now your love everything, everywhere. To get back to Uncle Michael being a god to me, this is called Uncle Michael, alias God. His hands tobacco stained, twisted and gnarled, knotted like an alive piece of wood, scrawled gestures across my mind as the sick calf bucked in his arms and his quiet strength calmed. "Shh, shh, suck, suck," he crooned, and the sound soothed, and the veins like vines ran up and down his arms, pumping crude life like a sudden sketch to suggest the gist of rather than the meaning of things. And he walked and I ran towards Granny's garden like God tending Eden. And the gate, the little horse sighed at his hand, and the leaves murmured like worshippers in a church congregation. And the sunlight genuflected through the trees, and the trees wore socks and apples. A tablecloth was laid on a loganberry bush. And the young tree gave herself to him, broke tenderly in his hand, and the knife whistled and whittled, and out of the branch came a man. And he told me, and I believed him because he was good as God and strong, that the little wooden man, the silent statue, had been waiting all the time already made, waiting to be released from his prison of wood. "All things," he whispered, "all things are waiting for you to call them to come out, awake them, create them." The rhododendrons were blue with amazement. At this revelation, a dragonfly walked upon the water. A butterfly became infatuated with a flower. Me, I watched as his hands talked, explaining things that could not be said. And he took my hand in his, and I understood, flowed like a little stream into his big river, felt God close, near at hand, and smiling. My sister got killed in a bus crash, stationary bus. Drunk driver came around, crashed into the back of it, and I was lost to the world. I was abandoned by the world. My uncle's favourite expression was, "Be the hokey or be the holy Dublin." So this is called Be the Hokey. Uncle taps me on my head. "How are you in there?" The only one who could walk into my mind to see how I was. He'd take my grief, tear it into pieces, scatter it to the wind. Then he'd take me by the hand. Let's see where the happiness is. And always he'd find where the happiness was hiding, whether it be in a wildflower or a nest of blue eggs, or how he showed me how to see the world in words. And wonder always flew to him, perched upon his shoulder, and oh, his lovely laughter and his catchphrase, be the hokey. It's called Maker of Days. You will always be oats, that smell spilling out of a split sack in an empty barn, a dance of dust motes that like a spell, trapping summer within its crumbling walls. You being you, whatever the weather. Water sprung from the ground, its gurgle of coldness, the chitter-chatter of hens gossiping among obsolete machinery, blue eating with rust, dock leaves next to nettles, calming the pain far from the maddening stings. Always your laughter amongst the ordinary everyday shipwreck of things becoming and unbecoming themselves. You, the maker of days in the lost land of summer. My uncle's farm at the bottom of the wood field was the Onabwee River. And I was amazed to find as a little fella that this was in a song, my uncle's field and river. And not only that, but I was in the song as well. So my sister and him used to always sing this to me. And my uncle was a devil for making up things, just to do things differently. So this is called Singing the River. Walking with my uncle was never the ordinary process of perambulation in order to get from point A to point C. We would sing our way west into the field as if to tame it, soothe it with sound. And Carrig down, the heat is brown, we'd sing to it. The clouds are dark, O'Ardnally, the grass listening with its 1,000 ears. And the field would swoon and fall down to the river at its border, which, as it happened, was the real-life river of the song, to kiss the slumbering Onabwee, as if he had sung it into existence. And we would roll ourselves down over and over until we arrived at its dizzy waters, dangling our toes in pure song. And now, with a quick uncle wink, let's walk home backwards. And backwards home we'd go just for the laugh of it, the yes of it. Confusing cows and a few scattered clouds, trees and hedges tiptoeing away from us. The five-bar gate with the sweetest, wildest strawberries at its feet, proclaiming, is it Magyar or what? And the next day, off we'd go, walking with eyes closed, in a darkness of our own making, to sing its song to the river chuckling over stones to itself. And the next day would be backwards with eyes closed, led along by our own laughter and the odd mystified boo. Farewell, we tell the sleepy river, farewell, leaving it dreaming in a sunset. Shh, shush their footsteps, shushes walking backwards. When Donall swore, Ior, we'd part no more. A storm a cree. Shh, 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 shh. This is called Go West, young man. I'm heading west, wherever that is. I march off into the distance of field and sky. West is where my uncle is. I cut through the heat haze, my uncle's dinner wrapped up in a scarf on the end of a stick, as if I'm running away forever. Tea slops in an old milk bottle with a piece of cloth as a stopper. I stare into the empty air as if suddenly I will discover there a sign saying, West, this way. My Auntie Nellie's instructions still stamped on the inside of my stupid skull. Go west into the field with your Uncle Michael's dinner. Tell him, me too terrified to tell her I don't know where west is. Typical townie. I search the farm field by field until finally I find him, sprouting out of a field with a cloud attached to his head, beside the broken rickety gate where the tiniest ever wild strawberries grow. So this is where west is. Why didn't she say so in the first place? This I know. Why send me like a fool on a child's errand? My uncle devours everything except the scarf and the stick. Tells me, oh no, to go south to where Uncle Shawnee is. And Centaur. And this is for my other uncle, Shawnee, who hardly ever gets a look in because Michael eclipses him so much, but he was a gorgeous man too. Hiding in the hay, me a terrified little boy, and my uncle like a terrified little boy. The voices in his head telling him to be afraid of all strangers, changes. He's been like this since the day his dad, my unknown grandfather, died. My aunt's voice searching for us, searching us out. Her shouts like bloodhounds hunting us down, her words angry and cruel, her cruel voice slurring us into Donall, Shani, as if he had fused into one being, a metamorphosis of us. The hay cooks us and we swelter in our hidey hole. A chicken sits on top of my uncle's cap, as if his mind had materialized into this shape. He rocks himself and rocks me, comforting both him and me. Don't leave me, he clucks, words scattered around him like newly laid eggs. I settle into his silence, my aunt's threats freezing us in this terrible heat. His chest air tickles my nose. The cut on my left big toe throbs through the open sandal. My uncle cries in fear. I wipe away the tear with the dirty edge of my sleeve. We escape to the west field, me riding his shoulders, transformed into a legendary creature that only exists in myths, fleeing from the realness of reality. This is from my Uncle Nellie. She always resented us kids having a good time, and she'd bring out her own writing that she did when she was 7 and say, my teacher said my writing was good too, blah, 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 blah. She'd always compete with us. And whenever we escaped her clutches, she'd go, where are you? And we'd say, nowhere, nowhere. And under her breath we'd sing, oh, Nellie the elephant packed her trunks and said goodbye to the circus. Off she went with a clumpety clump, 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 clump. The head of the herd was calling, far, far away. Auntie Nellie died of drink, loneliness, and whatever. Not necessarily in that order. On the farm that was her young days, summer holidays, cast her youth like so much pig slop to the squelching grunt of cow dung days, moo cow lowing years, until the dust collected and settled in the corners no one could reach. Time left her like a holy picture high above the mantelpiece. See the children take the coloured cards in their hands, go play fish in the pool, scream, snap, laugh at who is left to be. Old maid, not me, not me. Time never took her hand like a lover's touch. Time only waited for her. In her loneliness she read and reread and lived on Aldous Huxley's island. She said, this said, everything. Years later, when she reads like a fictional character in someone's story, when time no more mattered, I travelled to her island and touched her loneliness, felt her longing. Auntie Nellie died of drink, loneliness and whatever, not necessarily in that order. Said goodbye to the circus, calling far, far away. Sad Valentines for breakfast. Oh my, how Redcock struts, thinks he's a sultan, striding in and out among his harem-scarum hens, talking to themselves like some lost senile sentimental souls. Foolish fowl, they lay eggs for gentlemen and kids on long hot summer holidays. They hide their eggs like broken hearts, like old love letter secrets, safe in unseen places. But see Auntie Nellie, willy-nilly as a fox, stalk the chickens and expose them cruel as the news of the world. See her raid the haystacks, back seat of the old car, rain-rusting machinery, her apron pregnant and precious with the warm and brown gift of eggs. Red cock crows loud against the morning marigolds, while children's voices babble sleepily into wider wakefulness. Love letter secrets staining their lips. Sad Valentines for breakfast. It's called Coming of Age. My aunt and her friends are wondering, but not for long, where I've gone. They drink their bitter lemon amid the bitter gossip of their pub sawdust and chatter. I am hidden under their noses, under the table, masked by a theatrical tablecloth, amidst the forest of female legs that cross and uncross, divide and come together in a language of their own. This is the one time they can escape the chores and drudgery of their all-consuming farms. Knees dimple and wink, ties get scratched, get stroked as they think and talk, stockings get adjusted, slips and petticoats get smoothed. I play with my tie, a tiny dinky car, vivid scarlet, and try to ignore the lightning flash of knickers and the white thunder of ties. My eyes glowing with wonder as I leave childish things aside. The dinky lies forgotten as I emerge bright-eyed and more grown up into their grown-up world. Seams? It is not seams, madam. It is. My hand trembling, trying to keep a straight face, drawing a seam down the back of each of my auntie's legs. Keep it straight, she'd shriek, giggle as it tickled. I've become quite an expert at it, looking over her shoulder coquettishly, her heavily mascara eyes eyeing my handiwork in the mottled mirror. Her mouth a perfect pout, a tread of crimson squealing, good man, my lovely little man, perfect job. And then off we go to church and pray to God. My granny, the pathway of her song. Granny's garden, she's in there somewhere, only her song visible. Camouflaged by her ripening gooseberries, Granny sings to the summer. I follow the path of her song. Pillowcases and tea towels drying on bushes and branches. Granny and the birds sing. I step on each note, a pathway through the air. Granny's garden overgrown with time. Her song still rests upon the air. Granny's garden, she's in there somewhere, hidden by death. I step upon each note, still following the pathway of her song. This is the title of my last book, which was dedicated to Uncle Michael. It's called The Fox, the Whale and the Wardrobe. I hide from the world, I hide from your death. Hide in my auntie's wardrobe. Gather the darkness about me, dissolve into the nothingness I have become. No one knows where I am, no one knows who I am, not even me. My auntie's fox stoles, beady eyes alive with death. Oh, little boy, you join us in this dark. My auntie's whalebone corset smelling evilly of pink plastic, its white bone escaping, poking me in the ribs, welcome me to their land of the dead. Whale and fox show me their dreams, the seas and forests of their lives lived in the long ago. My sister's death haunts me, all through the ages I have become. Here now in Porto, high above the Douro, I finally write out the sorrow of my life. I still hiding in a wardrobe in deepest, darkest Cork, or up above in the tallest tree I can find. The land like a map spread out before me. The fox and the whale join me in my darkness, more frightening than theirs. The seconds fading into nothingness, the moments rusted into place. Now somewhere in the future I could never have imagined, I return to the ruined cottage, trees piercing the roof's heart, invading the room of where I'd been, the old wardrobe still holding the clothes of the dead. Auntie's Sunday best, uncle's smartest suit, rotten now, eaten by time. Oh, little boy, you've come back. The foxstole whispers in my ear, one eye missing, the corset nothing but bone. And I cry for the death of summer, I cry for the death of them all. The fox and the whale join them in this darkness they could not have ever envisaged. The little boy could never have imagined the man I have become. I come to comfort the 9-year-old I was, this 67-year-old self, trying to make amends for all the pain he had to endure, crying to a heaven not willing to hear him. His tears, my tears, I gather the darkness about me. And finally, I'll just put this in if it's time. A Scailga. Dún Sula, close your eyes. Cuddle go law, my grossive, sleep until day, my gentle love. Cuddle go solve, sleep peacefully, peacefully. I roke on Gaelic shaw, is rochig on green shuffy. This moon will rise, this sun will set. Aragus grow I goni, care and love always. Gachihe is gachlaw is gachihe. Every night, every day, every night. My plurine, my morine, my storine, my little flower, my little treasure, my little darling. Ach and ish, but now, Cuddle go sov, go sieve, sleep peacefully, gently, go fáinne an lay until the break of day. The Misha the Tave, with me by your side. Losing our baby late into the night, holding this little thing that only attempted to be human, unable to let go, I clasped the fetus tightly in my hand and buried it in the dawn of our local park under a recently planted red rose bush. In my grief, flower and baby became one, and night after night I climbed over high railings and even higher stars to talk to her in the dark in Irish, or sing my love is like a red, red rose, or cry, or cry. Almost got arrested one night by an Irish cop drawn to the sound of Irish emerging from the darkness. Guess he let me go because it wouldn't look good on a charge sheet. The defendant was talking and crying to a flower in Irish. Éist, éist, listen, listen. Dinna aigen na cína, someone is crying in a darkasan, in his darkness. Phil, Phil Aruno, oh, Phil Aruno is na imigum. Phil Arum a kushla sto, oh, agus chifik to an glow, ma ilatam. Thank you. Long was that?